Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Now we'll be talking security. We've seen the recent harassment attack in Benue, which we saw the report not some days back, and then we're also keeping tabs on are they negotiating or north with Niger Delta militants? What should they be doing? We're joined this morning by Brigadier General Olusegun Ajano, who is a retired Army officer. Thank you for coming on this morning, sir.
Thank you. Good morning.
All of this has to keep going back and forth. I mean, the day before, the VP had said, no, we're not negotiating with Niger Delta Avengers. They're just economic warriors fighting for their pockets. Then yesterday, you had a special advisor to the president on the amnesty program saying, no, we're negotiating. Now you ask yourself, why are they giving conflicting signals? Could it be that they don't know how to approach this? Should they be confused about this?
It's unfortunate. In the first place, it is most unfortunate that we have the problem in the Niger Delta as it is as of now. It is something we've been grappling with in Nigeria for a very long time. And we have had different phases. Probably with each regime that comes on board in Nigeria, the Niger Delta comes up with a different phase of the same agitation. And these things predate the various regimes that have been coping with it. The fundamental issue there has always been lack of development. It is an area that is peculiar. Even if we didn't have the oil exploration and all the rest of it, by virtue of its being in the delta of a major river, it's an area that requires special attention. Unfortunately for us, when oil was discovered in Nigeria, the then regime had little or no knowledge of what it takes to explore and to get the benefits of oil. Also, the various communities that were there also just felt, oh, the thing is discovered in our area. There was no representation to make demands and all the rest of it. So these problems have combined to complicate the situation we have on our hands today. So I wouldn't even blame anybody for inconsistency or being confused or anything. It is a problem that we all have to address jointly, in the sense that every Nigerian should be concerned what is really happening in the Delta area. How should we approach it and get solutions? But I must say this. Violent demonstration and destruction of infrastructures is certainly not an answer.
If you look at it that way, I think you've just put it on the pedestal where a lot of Nigerians are showing concern. It was only yesterday we were trying to look at it, and we had someone, the comrade who was part of the last amnesty program. He did say some of these people that should be talked to or brought to the table for discussions are not being reached by the government. He felt that the ex-agitators, those who benefited from the amnesty program, they're still very much around, that they have a very good understanding of what exactly this is about. Do you think that as it is now, we have those people in government that can, with ease, go to the region and broker peace or start a discussion?
Yeah. One of the problems we've had with agitations and demonstrations and all sorts of things is the fact that those who are behind it have never really come out to identify themselves.
So identification is very key here.
Identification is key. Look at the Boko Haram issue under President Jonathan. There were negotiations, there were declaration of ceasefires, and it failed because there is no sincerity. And in anything you do, when there is no honesty, you just don't get the desired results. Who are the people behind the Avengers? Has anybody been able to identify them? Has anybody been able to pinpoint? Yes, it is easy for anybody to sit back and say, oh, the federal government has not been negotiating with the right people. Yes, I would agree. But have the right people shown up? If they have shown up and the government refused to talk, aha, then we can put the blame rightly in the quarters of the government. But here we are, it is another insurgency that we are having in the Niger Delta. And insurgents just don't come out to identify themselves. So it is a big problem. And that's why, personally, I will appeal to all Nigerians. I will appeal very sincerely to all Nigerians. We love our country. Let us do everything. Whatever might be the agitations in our mind, whatever might be the dissatisfactions we may have, let us realize that it is best for us to sit together and talk and solve it.
I think the point you just raised here is have the real agitators come forward, because I recall that in the last dispensation, I'm talking about late Yaradua,
yes.
You could put a name to different camp, whether it's the once dreaded Camp 5, you have a name attached to it, whichever camp you had a name attached to it, and so these individuals were easily approachable and reached. So in this case, you're saying we still haven't been able to see anyone come forward to say we represent the Avengers. How can we make them? Because when you say sincerity, what is it that you think the government hasn't done that will make them know that the government is sincere and is really willing, with open hands, to embrace them for some kind of discussions?
True as that may be, I still maintain the fact that even during the President Yaradua's tenure, the agitation was just, it was something that sort of dovetailed into his own regime, because it was, he took over from President Obasanjo, and President Obasanjo addressed it frontally. He deployed troops, and eventually he started talking. He formed a sort of consultative council of the people of the area and was doing something through them. Now, it is, and in fact we found out that it started dovetailing. By the time President Yaradua came up, it was probably easier to identify a group and through them put in a sort of structure that can be one that can promote the satisfaction, or at least a little bit of dousing the agitation of the people. That went on. Unfortunately, he passed on. Now, President Jonathan came, and of course, he also did his own. We now found a number of some of the insurgents coming up as, in fact, leaders. But what was the answer there? It was a lot of money that was pumped in, and people were, in fact, we were almost going to have a Niger Delta.
Before then, General, just allow me come in here. Before then, before he became president, the then Vice President Goodluck Jonathan,
yes,
we all saw the party played in that. He was in most of those camps personally. So I'm trying to, look at a situation whereby you know that this person can be trusted. Do we have people from the region in government that can easily go to the region and speak to these people and say, look, I'm part of government, drop your arms, this is doable, we can have a healthy discussion?
My observation, to be quite honest with you, is that over the time, we have not been able to pinpoint anybody that carries that popularity or charisma that can get into the Niger Delta area and claim to have some listening ear. It is most unfortunate. And unfortunately too, along with that, if you remember the time of Kensar Wiwa, he was leading an agitation. What was his problem? Those who claimed to be leaders were getting resources and were doing away with it. That was what constituted his problem. But the then regime felt those were the leaders that were listening to them. He was rounded up, he was tried, he was executed. Unfortunately, who today can we point out as a leader that the federal government can put all their trust in? give him what he requires to go in there and talk to the people. I don't know one. If you know it, please, for God's sake, just suggest it to the government. I don't know one. That is the problem. We have a problem of corruption. We have a problem of inordinate ambition. We have political problems. You have ethnic problems. So many things are rolled in there. So many things. So, in all sincerity, I have said...
Okay, we'll go to a question coming through from Akwe. Go ahead, please.
I have... Okay.
Well, if you can hear me, just yesterday we had in the studio General Paul Boro, and we also had one of the leaders of the militant groups in the Niger Delta. And part of, you could almost tell that there was almost a difference between some of the things that they were asking. The militants were asking for, it would seem, a continuation of the amnesty program, but there's also the issue of development. How do you think government can marry the two in terms of ensuring that militant groups who have been disarmed are fully integrated into society, at the same time tackle the issue of development so that you do not have the resurgence of another militant group?
Thank you. I think it's a nice way to start. Identifying developmental problems, addressing the demands of the agitators. I don't think the government has ever said no to any of this. In fact, at the start, it appeared as if the amnesty program was getting slow when the government was trying to find its feet. But now I think it is still going on. But with that as it may, we must recognize the fact that the resources that the Avengers are bombing now constitute the very source of money with which some of these things are supposed to be achieved. If the present Avengers said they are going to sort of stop the exportation of oil from the region, where would the government get the money to pursue development and to satisfy some of the needs that they have already identified? Besides that, the environment is being further degraded.
Do you agree with those who are of the opinion that we brought this upon ourselves, in the sense that they've always talked about, they've always agitated for a while, and those who perhaps in the early hours of the early years of the agitation, some of them were killed because they didn't want to accede to the demands from the region. They've had several conferences. They've highlighted some of the issues they have. And so when they refuse to listen to all of those issues that have been highlighted, what option do you leave the people with?
I would suggest that we shouldn't get tired of talking. There are so many groups in the Niger Delta today. I think the government of the country just has to continue to identify those that can be brought forward, that can be talked with, that can go back and talk to the people, and just continue. We have no choice. We just have to continue. And I must also say that military option should be de-escalated.
Okay, John, we'll take a quick break. Just pardon me.
Right.
Just hold your train of thought.
Yes.
We'll come back and conclude that. Don't go away.